Good morning, Year 1. Today is Wednesday, the 24th of February, 2021. And today we're going to be learning to explore an author's purpose. Now, we heard that word purpose on Monday. We're going to revisit it today. Before we get started with our lesson, let's begin with a punctuation starter. So we have 3 sentences, just like we usually do, and 3 different forms of punctuation you can use. So you've got an exclamation mark, a full stop, and a question mark. So what I'm going to do is read through the 3 sentences, and you can hear the expression in my voice when I'm reading. That will be a good clue for you. And then I'd like you to pause the video and write those sentences, but make sure you include the proper punctuation. So sentence number 1. When will you be coming back to school? When will you be coming back to school? Sentence 2. We are getting bored and upset. Sentence 3. Ah, it is so dark in here. Okay, so now it's your turn to pause the video, and you're going to copy out the sentences, and where there's a little line, there's a missing bit of punctuation. So you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces and 3 different forms of punctuation. So you might want to use one of them more than once. So there's your clue, and then when you come back, we can take it up together. So pause the video now. Lovely, welcome back. All right, when will you be going back to school is a question. We're asking when, about a time or a day. So we're going to use a question mark. We are getting bored and upset. Is the crayons telling us something? So it's a statement. So we're going to use a full stop. And finally, ah, is a bit of shouting. So that's an exclamation. So we're going to use an exclamation mark. And then at the end, we'll use one again. So give yourself a tick if you were able to use the proper punctuation. If you weren't, just use your different color to make your corrections. And now we're going to move on. Okay, so on Monday, we talked about the features of a letter. So these are all the things or parts that letters need to have in them. We said letters start with the address, which is where the letter is coming from. A good letter should have a date on it. Remember, our crayons forgot the date, but that's okay. We won't forget the date in our letters. That tells us when the letter was written. They always open with a greeting. So we said a greeting is like a way of saying hello. So we might say, Dear Mrs. Madison, to Mrs. Madison, good morning, Mrs. Madison, a greeting. So we're saying hello in the letter. It tells us who the letter is for. And a good letter will start with the author's purpose, which is what we're going to talk about today. And the purpose, do you remember what that is? Pause the video and share if you remember. That's right, it's the reason for writing the letter. So it's why they've written in the first place. And after they tell us their purpose and share their news or their ideas, it's a good idea when we're writing a letter to ask some questions, because we know that we want whoever's getting our letter, we want them to write us back. So we want to have some questions that they can answer. And finally, at the end of our letter, in the same way that we used our greeting to say hello, we use our closing to say goodbye, and it tells you who the letter is from. So let's have a look at that letter that we looked at on Monday so we can see all those different parts of our letter and what they look like. So at the top, we have the crayons from the crayon box, 70 Northumberland Avenue, which is the school. So we can see that the address is there, where they're from. Dear Mrs. Madison is the greeting, so it tells you who the letter's to. And right off the start, they're telling us we are writing to tell you that we are unhappy. So their purpose or their reason, they're writing me because they are unhappy at school. When we get down to the bottom, you can see that they've asked us a question. Do you know when our friends will be returning to us? So they're asking us a question. And finally, your very lonely friends, the crayons. That's their closing because they're saying goodbye. All right, so today we said we'd be discussing the author's purpose, and we said the purpose is their reason for writing. So today we're going to explore some reasons why the crayons were writing their letter. So we're going to revisit that letter, and I'm going to read it to you again. And what I'd like you to listen for, and I'm just going to take away all all this purple because it might be distracting for us. So what I'd like you to do is listen as I read the letter. And what you're listening for are all the reasons why the crayons are unhappy. So they already told us that they're writing because they're unhappy, but I want you to really use your listening ears, your good reading comprehension skills, and let's see if we can spot all the reasons that the crayons are unhappy. So, dear Mrs. Madison, we are writing to tell you we are unhappy with the crayon situation here at school. You see, we're getting very bored because we haven't been used for quite a few weeks now. We miss all of our friends who used to draw beautiful pictures with lots of wonderful colors. We're getting very upset. It's very boring inside the crayon tray and very dark too. We are worried that we will not have the stamina to color such pictures because we haven't been used for so long. Do you know when your friends will be returning to us? Your very lonely friends, the crayons. Lovely. So what I'd like you to do now is pause the video and either with an adult or a sibling or your learning partner, remember we said that can be a stuffed toy if you want to share as your talking partner. And I want you to tell them all the reasons that you heard why the crayons were upset. So we know they're unhappy, we know they're upset. Why? What are some of the feelings they gave us? And why did they say that? And we'll talk about them when we come back. Fantastic. I hope you were able to share some of those ideas, and I tried to help you out by underlining with my purple pen some of those special reasons as well. So now we're going to do our challenge, and we're going to start with a few examples together, and then this will be your challenge for today. So on a piece of paper, or there is a PDF on Teams, we've got our mind map. Why did the crayons write their letter? And you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. So that tells me I need 6 different reasons from the text. So from the letter, why did the crayons write their letter? Well, I know the first thing they said is they were unhappy at school. So that's the first reason why they wrote their letter. They were unhappy at school. Now let's go back to the letter and see if we can find some reasons why they were unhappy at school. You see, we are getting very bored because we haven't been used for quite a few weeks now. Ooh, so I can say they are bored because they haven't been used. Now that's a really good answer, and I'm going to tell you why. That's a really good bit of detail to put on your special map. So what you've done in this sentence, what we've done together, is we've said they are bored, which is our first reason. But bear in mind, it didn't just say, give me a reason. It said why. And we know that when a question asks us why, it's pretty important for us to use the conjunction because. Because helps us to explain. So they are bored. So you didn't just tell me they were bored, you told me why they're bored. They are bored because they haven't been used. So that's an even better answer because you're giving more detail. And whenever we're reading or writing, we always want to be giving more detail for the reader. So they're bored because they haven't been used. Let's see if we can do one more together. And then I'm going to let you have a go at doing some yourself. So back to the letter I go. They're bored because we haven't been used for quite a few weeks now. We miss all of our friends. Ooh. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to say they miss their friends. And their friends are you guys, the students. So that's another reason why they're writing their letter. They're unhappy because they're bored, because they haven't been used. They miss their friends. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 more reasons to give. So your job today, you can use this bit that we did together to help yourself get started. And then what I'd like you to do is come up with 3 more reasons why the crayons told us they were upset. Now you don't have to make these up. We know that just like with our reading task, all of our answers are going to be found by looking back at the text. So if we look back in the text, we will find all the reasons we need why the crayons wrote their letter. And the more detail you can give, the better. So I'm going to leave you to that challenge. This resource is on Teams as a PDF if you want to use it. You can also just draw it on a piece of paper, draw your mind map, and do your writing that way. And then when you're done, you can upload a picture of your work to the Teams page for English. So happy writing today. Good job finding all the reasons. We're looking for the author's purpose, remember? And I will see you tomorrow. Bye.